I looked that song up because Sharon had explained that her dancer was going to come and perform Blackbird. And I looked it up, and it's a Paul McCartney song. And I didn't know the reason that Paul McCartney wrote the song. It was 1968, in the spring of 1968, and Paul McCartney was in Scotland. And he was writing poetry at the time. And he heard of the real spiritual civil rights unrest in the United States in that spring of 1968. And he was very concerned about man's inhumanity to man. But Paul McCartney, being an artist and being a creator, didn't slip into the negativity of it. He stepped into the possibility that was present. And he wrote the song Blackbird. In English slang, bird is a girl. So the song is written for a black girl to step into the light in the dark of night. He's inviting her to step into a miracle that we can't even see yet. He could see there was something more going on. And he wrote the song, and how beautiful it is, and to know the background of it and watch that beautiful dance and know that the unrest at that time was so difficult here in our country. And it was so difficult it was felt around the world. Paul McCartney came to California, Indio, California, for a music festival in 2009, 41 years later. And he explained why he wrote the song. And he said, "Isn't it beautiful that so many of the civil rights issues have been solved? So many have been solved, and there's so many more. Yet what we're taught by the beauty of this song is that behind every experience, no matter how difficult and painful, is a miracle, a light ready to be expressed." So today, in the topic of ordinary miracles, I'm going to ask you to think about what a miracle means to you. Because there's many definitions of miracles. And if we look in Webster's dictionary, now there's many lists and many definitions of miracles, but I'm going to share the first two. The first definition of miracle in the Webster's dictionary is kind of a Christian-based definition. It said, a miracle is the manifestation of a divine intervention into humankind. Meaning there's a God out there that decides, let's see, miracle, no miracle. Miracle, no miracle. And the second definition is a Christian Science definition. And in the Christian Science definition, of course, religious science and Christian Science were born out of the same stuff, the same healing energy, the same possibility. And this is the definition that comes second. A divinely natural phenomenon, ordinary miracles. A divinely natural phenomenon experienced humanly as the fulfillment of a spiritual law. Well, the spiritual law is good. The spiritual law means infinite possibilities. So it's an outpicturing of that. Ernest Holmes would say, great power exists when we tap into our divine power, the power greater than we are, of which we are a part. When we tap into that, miracles occur. Miracles occur. So miracles are ready and waiting for each and every one of us. We just need to prepare ourselves to be in alignment with our good, alignment with our truth, alignment with the possibility that exists, to be able to see the light beyond the darkness, in order for us to be in alignment with a greater truth that's waiting to express. So what gets in our way? If miracles are a natural occurrence, they happen every day, all the time. When we plant a seed in the ground, we're actually planting a miracle. I don't know about you, but I don't know how to grow an oak tree. I don't know how to grow a hydrangea. But we know there's a power greater than we are that does. Our responsibility, our part to play in this, our part to play when we plant the seed of a miracle, the seed of a garden, is to create the right conditions. Do you know what I mean? The right conditions for the miracle to grow. Now I'm going to tell you something. Fear isn't one of the right conditions. Limiting thoughts are not the right conditions. If we say, oh, that's not going to grow, and we don't give it water or food or what it needs to grow, it's not going to grow. Like attracts like, remember. We need to plant the right conditions. So first and foremost, we have to say, well, God doesn't force us to do what's right and good for us. We force ourselves to limit that power that we have, to step away from the good and the miracle that we are. We are born miracle makers. Yet we limit that power with our fear and our limiting beliefs. There's really only two emotions, fear and faith, fear and love. And we choose fear more often than not in the face of difficulty because we see with our human eyes. And why is it that we're so afraid? Why are we so? Fear is an emotion, and it's there as a messenger to teach us, to guide us, to help us. If something's dangerous, it wants us to know so we'll know what to do. Now, fear of heights, fear of jumping out of the airplane, I can understand that. But we're afraid to live fully. We're afraid to shine our light that I might shine a little brighter than someone else and make them feel bad. I might do this. We're afraid to speak our truth because maybe somebody won't like us. Why are we so afraid? Fear is for our own good to protect us. Yet it's gotten to a point that fear paralyzes us. We need to learn how to handle fear so we can put it in the right perspective, knowing that under everything that we may label as a small t truth, a fact, is perfection, is a greater experience, is a wholeness. So if we're going to really get to be able to deal with our fear, we need to decide what is fact and what is truth with a capital T. What is reality with a capital R? Well, first of all, a fact is made by human observation or experience. We see something, we study it, we research it, and we decide that it's true with a small t when it's just information. The truth is that which is. The truth is the cause and the reality and the reason in everything. The truth is changeless, deathless, birthless, whole, complete, right now. It's the eternal, infinite, all that is. It's the all that is. But we get confused. What is fact and what is real? Disease is a fact. It's something we're experiencing. Under the disease, under that appearance of disease, under that is perfection. That's what we had people come to the prayer wall today, to know their truth. A truth that's under whatever appearance is showing up in our lives. There's something greater and more in alignment with our good. You and I can only go as far as our spiritual knowledge will take us. We can't go any farther than that. But what we need to understand is that facts change. Did you know that? Few facts. I looked up last night some facts that have changed over time. And right at the top is human brain cells grow continually. Now, up until the 1980s, scientists thought that human brain cells, the adult human brain, had all the neurons it would ever have. All the neurons. And then we're learning that our brain cells grow. And we know that spiritually, that we're ever evolving beings. And if we're ever evolving beings, why can't we make a worse situation better? We have that possibility. We have that possibility right now. And the second thing on that list, I had to apologize to all my third graders. You know that big brontosaurus, that big dinosaur with that big long neck, the really cute ones that eat the leaves off the trees? Gosh, in our dinosaur unit, I love that, the brontosaurus, but the brontosaurus isn't real. The brontosaurus is actually made up of two different dinosaur bones in the skeleton, and so there's it's two different parts of a dinosaur. I'm sorry, third graders. And how many of you can tell me the tallest mountain in the world? Are you afraid to say it? Mount Everest. That's what we all think, Mount Everest. Mount Everest is not the tallest mountain in the world. fact for a long time, but actually on the island of Hawaii, if you go from the base of the mountain to the tippy top, Mauna Loa is the tallest mountain on the island of Hawaii. So facts change. Does the truth? The answer is truth doesn't change. So we have to start aligning ourselves with what is true. And that means we need to do the spiritual practices to expand our spiritual knowledge. Now, spiritual practices are spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, meditation, contemplation, art, dance, music, chanting, all of that, the practices that keep us in alignment with all that is good and true. So the good just has to shine through. The light has to shine through. Do you know, when we get to that place, I could feel when Lauren was dancing, I just got the God bumps. I just was so, she was not separate to the music. There was no place that Lauren started and the music ended, or Lauren ended and the music started. It was a oneness that you could feel. And when you get in that place of oneness, where you're so immersed in the presence of spirit, of love, of good, whatever you want to call it, we don't limit our individuality at all. We just become more and more into the possibility. And that's what we got to experience this morning. So to really be part of that power greater than we are, to really be part of it, so we're really immersed in that and tapped in. As I said, Ernest Holmes said, a miracle, that power, that great power that happens is when we're tapped into our good, our divine nature. How do we get there? Well, there's some things we need to do. When we get into fear, we live in worst case scenario. Would you agree with me? You make up stories about, oh my God, you know what's going to happen. Oh, can you believe this? I just can't even, oh my gosh. You get into the worst case scenario, and that's a downward spiral. We need to set our heights on the best scenario. We need to live our life in the possibility of what wants to shine through us, what wants to shine through life. So the first and foremost thing that you and I need to do in order to be in the alignment with that, we've got to get our fear under control. We have to make friends with fear, but not let it control us. When we feel fear, listen to it. What is it here to tell us? Is it rational or irrational? And after we listen, we have to be courageous enough to do what answer we get. If it's rational, we need to do something. If it's irrational, we have to let it go. We've got to do our prayer, our spiritual work, our spiritual practices to get it under control. So we have to make friends with fear, but not let it control us. And number 2, we've got to keep our dominant thoughts positive. Dominant thoughts. How many of you have negative thoughts sometimes? Okay, we're human, of course. But our dominant thoughts are what creates our experience. We have to keep our dominant thoughts on what is good and right and true. We have to walk in the direction of our prayers. How many of you, you don't have to raise your hand, are going to walk out of here after you've had a beautiful truth spoken to you, a beautiful prayer given to you? And then you're going to say, oh, that's never going to happen. That's not really true. I don't deserve that. You know, we do that. We get a beautiful prayer. We have all possibility. And then 10 minutes later, we're back on the downward spiral. We've got to walk in the direction of our prayers. And that takes practice, 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 practice. And I could go on. We have to practice this. We have to walk in that direction. So we have to keep our fear control, make our positive, keep our thoughts positive. We can never dwell on scarcity. Scarcity will hit us sometimes. Oh, there's not enough, but we can't dwell on it. Instead of saying, oh, there's just not enough, we need to really honor, I have everything I need. I have everything I need. Say that with me. I have everything I need, because you know what? You do, I do, we do. We have everything we need. We cannot dwell on what we don't have, but hold what we do have, and always hold the possibility for more goodness, more unfoldment, more whatever it is, but be grateful for what's here right now. Because like attracts like. And if I say, I just don't have enough, what are you going to get? Not enough. Is that what you want? So we need to focus on the energy we're putting out that attracts like. The fourth thing I really want you to do, all of us to do, is celebrate victories, our own and others. Celebrate victories. Let them inspire you. Let them motivate you. Let your victories motivate other people, and let other people's victories motivate you. We're not in a competition or a race. This life is about living the fullness of who we are meant to be, not someone else's life. And the last part is find a like-minded community to support you in this spiritual knowledge of awakening. We have a beautiful spiritual community. And I love what Robert Fulghum said in his book, All I Ever Needed to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten. And his phrase that I just love so much says, when you go out in the world, this big world, it's best if we hold hands and stick together. And when you're there together, we can plan to be great, because let our light uplift and support others to do the same, and let other people's life lift us and support us to do the same. It's about learning fact from truth. It's about learning how to tap into that power greater than we are, and really knowing there's only two emotions that move us, that energize us: love and fear. Faith and fear. What's going to get you farther? Love and faith opens us to what is good and right and true. Now, we had a beautiful, beautiful dance to Blackbird this morning about all the things that were going on in the world at that time, man's inhumanity to man, and believe me, we can see that now as much as we want. And I believe we are called, we chose to be here at this time because I believe we are called to see that light in the midst of the darkness, to see that light that pulls us together for a greater good. Martin Luther King lived in the depths of the darkness, but he chose not to live in negativity. He chose not to be part of the problem, the blame. He chose to see the truth. He chose to see love. His truth was not what he saw in appearances, but it was the American dream that all men, women are created equal. All people are created equal. That was his truth, and he chose to live that. Now, I've edited what he said, and this was a little before the song Blackbird, but what he said at that time. You see, we have a responsibility to create the imagery and right conditions for a miracle. That's our job. I mean, we can force it away, as I said. God doesn't force us to see the possibility and the imagery of what is good. But Martin Luther King had a dream that was much bigger and more powerful. And he said, there will be a day. Now, I edited this for today's time because this was spoken in 1961. There will be a day when all of God's children, regardless of age, race, color, sex, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, or socioeconomic status, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old spiritual, Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Finally, we are free at last. And that's the freedom to see the truth, the freedom to know something more is at work, the freedom to have faith that with God all things are possible. So I invite you right now to unwrap yourselves, to tap into that power greater than we are, of which when we become a part, we become greater and bigger than anything we could ever imagine. So just breathe in this moment, letting go of any fear, any of the facts or appearances that keep us limited and stuck, and step into the realm of the greater truth of who we are and who we are becoming. Stepping into that power and presence of love, to love right now the infinite possibilities that lay before us, to love with all our heart that God, that divine essence, the creative energy, the creative potential, the goodness that is everywhere, to be in love for all of that, to truly know that there's goodness and potential that awaits every experience in our life, to know that we have the power in us right now, not somewhere else, some other time, but right here in this moment, to align with our good, to align with our light, to see the good that's beyond the light, the sun that's beyond the clouds, to see that potential even in the face of diversity and difficulty, even in the face of difficulty, even in the face of the darkness that we see. We have the power to know the greater truth. The condition of our mind and our heart is what matters. And I'm going to invite you, whether in your mind's eye or in your physical experience, just to take the hand of the person next to you. Just to take the hand of the person next to you, either in your mind's eye or in your physical experience, and just bless that person. Thank God for them. Celebrate their blessings, their goodness, their gifts, their potential as you celebrate your own, and feel the blessings as they move through this room. Feel the blessings as they unite us all. As we hold hands and stick together in the truth that we are here for God, we are here for each other, we're here for love and light. And when we stumble, we have hands to pull us up. We have practices to keep us awake. We know as we hold these hands in this circle, that just automatically this circle expands and grows. And just imagine in your mind's eye, in your heart, in your beingness, that this circle of love, this circle of light, this circle of possibility that moves us from the facts to the truth and reality that we are one. And there's a power in this oneness. There's a power that uplifts and heals. There's a miracle in this oneness that allows good to be expressed in this and every moment. How good it is to have these hands to hold, how good it is to have our heart to love. And just remember, we stick together, and together we know we're living the unfoldment of a miracle. How good it is. And give those hands a squeeze, whether they're in your mind's eye or in your physical being, and bring your hands back to yourself. Just knowing those hands can never be broken, and just keep that as a vision in your mind. A dream, a vision of the world, hand in hand. Learning what we need to learn and moving on, evolving and growing into our greatest yet to be. Oh, and this energy and essence of light and love and goodness. With a grateful heart, we just let it go into that infinite mind, the law of mind that only knows to say yes, that only knows to return to it that which it has been given. We just say, thank you, God, for all of this and so much more. And we seal this dream, this vision, this truth, this knowing together by saying, and so it is. I thank you all for being part of this dream with me. I love each and every one of you. And just say thank you. And so it is.